Today I'm going to show you how I made these football cupcakes. Come join me. I started off with mixing up some vanilla batter. These were going to be confetti cupcakes, so I added some sprinkles to my batter. I mixed that in well. After mixing, I added some batter to each one of my cupcake liners. Then I put these into the oven and allowed them to bake. Prior to these being baked, I worked through some of the elements to decorate these cupcakes. So I needed some brown fondant, so I used some red, yellow, and blue food coloring and added that to my fondant to make a brown fondant. I'll be using this fondant to make footballs to go on top of these cupcakes. Here I'm just trying to darken that fondant up a bit from what it was a little bit ago. Once I was finished, I was prepared to begin working with it. So I added some Tylose powder to my fondant. That's really here to help solidify and make my fondant harden very hard so it holds its shape. So after I was finished, I added some Tylose powder and I just worked that in real good. I started to measure out some balls of this brown fondant that I'll use for each one of the cupcakes. After I finished measuring out 12 of these balls, I went back and I rolled them into the shape of a football. I did that by kind of pinching each side of the edges into that shape and then just kind of rounding out the center so that it was a nice round football on the outside with those pulled together edges to do the sides of a football. And I left these harden for a few days so that by the time I was ready to actually use them for the cupcakes, they were nice and solid and I could use them easily for the decorations for toppers. The day before I was ready to use them, I went back and I used a little bit of Crisco and I rubbed it onto the whole surface of these footballs to get the powdered sugar off and to get a nice shine to them. And it won't be any excess. That will really kind of absorb into the fondant. And after I was finished with those, I just kind of put those aside and waited until I was ready to actually make the cupcakes and use these. The day of, when I was making the cupcakes, while they were baking, I put together my box so that I could pack them once I was finished. Once they came out of the oven and they were cool, I was able to begin decorating. So I used the grass tip and I just kind of dabbed that along the top of the entire cupcake. I did this quite heavy so that there was enough icing to hold those football toppers onto the top of the cupcakes. And once I was finished decorating all 12 of these cupcakes, I went back to the footballs and then I drew the stitching lines onto each one of these footballs. So it's that one longer line and then those smaller stitches going across that longer line. As you can see, there are some little edges to this icing that kind of stick up when I pull the bag away. So I took a wet paintbrush and I just kind of used that to dab down those stray pieces of icing that stuck up so that they look neater and just look better for the person who wanted these. And once we were finished with all 12 of them doing that, I was able to take one of each of these footballs to put onto each one of the cupcakes. So it looks like it's resting in the field. And with that, the cupcakes are finished, and this is what they look like. Thank you so much for joining me. I encourage you to like, comment, share, and come back again for the next video.